I cannot do it by myself because when we say a group of Chinese students, we're thinking about anywhere from 170 of them, anything in between. And here on top of that, I'm so proud that with my team, we settle everyone within 48 hours. Let me tell you the end result that we're looking for. By the end of, or before, even before 48 hours sometimes, we help them find their apartment, get all the furniture they need, get all the grocery shopping, set up every account they need to set up within school and outside school, like CCTV or cell phones and so forth. And then they will be able to start cook for themselves within their new apartment or new house. That's when we say cut off. That's within 48 hours. So every year or every season, we have from 6 to 10 people working in a team, such a small team. And that's part of the reason why we want 48-hour cutoff time, because new students continuously loading in every single day from the airport, or several loads actually per day from the airport. We have to work really fast to settle the previous groups so that we can handle the later groups, okay? And there's some pre-assumptions that you always keep in mind. We are not doing this as discrimination. It's based on the fact that when you get into a new country, far away from your culture, I'm not talking about distance, I'm talking about a culture distance. So very much different, okay, from your own culture. Sometimes you need to assume the newcomers know nothing, zero, absolutely zero, so that we will provide all the information and all the services that they won't be in trouble later on. Because when they are in trouble, we'll be in trouble, right? Those are paid customers like everybody in this room. You're paid customers. We don't want you guys to be unhappy. That's why you see those yellow tags on the floor, say wet floor, right? Similar concept. So we have several different subsystems. For example, how to recruit and maintain and track the working hours for our team members, how to collect and coordinate with the sponsoring organizations back in China to collect information before they actually arrive, how to organize all the resources from community in terms of housing availabilities, in terms of cell phone deals and so forth. We sometimes negotiate for them, get a group discount and so forth. That part we're not going to talk about. We want to talk about the fun part today. That is when we first meet them at the airport. Okay. We just passed the season, so let me briefly describe a technical process. It will be a hot summer night, sometimes raining, sometimes it's just hot and humid, and you park the van in a parking lot over SGF Airport, or walk into the hallway and say, AC, I love you, and you wait at the gate. Sometimes they will arrive on time, sometimes they arrive late. No matter what, we'll wait until we see the students actually physically walking out of the gate so that we know they're safe, they safely arrive. Occasionally, we got people fly to Springfield of Illinois or somewhere else, I always mess up. But when they first come over, that's the process we call the initial hosting. We need to check their name against our arrival list, see if everybody's here. If they're here, we're super happy. And then Springfield Airport, you need to check your luggage in the carousel far away. They don't know that, but we need to collect all people that we're supposed to pick up, then go to the carousel together. In between, we do a brief introduction, who we are, brief welcome, say welcome, finally arrived. If they arrive on time, say you're lucky. If they arrive late, say rough start, but things gonna be brighter in future. Don't worry about it, we'll take care of you, so forth. We got luggage, and during the process, they will have gazillions of questions. Okay, they always worry about things. The most offensive question I've ever been asked during that period of time is, how much it costs for a house? You don't worry about that part yet, buddy. You worry about his study, okay? You don't worry about buying a house or buying cars right away. Then we need to help them get the luggage together, check carefully they don't get other people's luggage, other people don't get their luggage, they got all the pieces they need. If there's any missing, we'll have a student worker leave the student with their missing luggage tag, visit the attendants at the airport, try to track it down, file paperwork. Typically, it's because SGF is such a small airport. Our luggage got delayed when there's a big crowd flood in from Chicago or from Dallas. The luggage will be here next day or next 2 days. And then the airport will help us transport the luggage to the designated location. And we need to let the airport know where, who will be the contact, and what is the phone number with it. Then we load everybody into the truck, or not truck, load luggage into the truck, and those people in the van go to their destination. For that, there is some controversial because some people say, I got a friend to take me. Okay, or I've already talked to a landlord, I will move in. Again, this is assume they know nothing part, because we know they have to have a legitimate contract signed with the key in hand that they can legally move into any apartment. They say they can move in, doesn't mean they really can move in that night. So we'll need to let them know the conditions for local legal system and local conditions, and then we typically take them to a nearby hotel where we got negotiated a discount rate for this group of students. And that leads to the next process called hotel check-in. Yeah.
Do you prefer us to ask question in the middle or ask question at the end?
Yeah, just in the middle, anytime.
Okay.
That will help probably clarify.
So for the first one, the airport pickup, you say you have a arrival list,
Yeah,
which means you have all the name of students coming in?
yes, that is another subsystem before they actually arrive.
Okay. So we can, in our system, we can assume that list is provided.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Any more questions?
Is there already a procedure in place for when you do pick up the luggage that they have their identifications ready, whatever that is? They've already seen if their luggage is missing, they've already seen someone about it?
Yes, typically we ask them brief questions. The the airport attendants will ask the same. Have you seen that in the port you enter the country? Have you seen it over the port that you leave your home country and so forth? I will track down step by step. Typically, I would say 99% of the time it's been held up in the port of entry airport. So that's most typical way. And they got a pretty good system to track it down. So far, I've done it for, about 8-9 years. So far, we have 2 luggages that really just vanished.
So is that the port of entry you're saying is kind of the main point where it gets messed up? Is that because it's being held for customs checks or because the luggage got lost?
Just volume.
Okay.
The volume. Like Chicago Airport, they got millions of people fly through every day. It's not millions, sorry, but it's huge amount. It's really possible. Last time there's somebody, we saw it and we warned them. It's 2 very similar luggage, and one guy is working on that, supposed to go this way, but it's so close to each other, the other people just grab it, try to go. You know, it could be just like that. Things could happen. Any question?
And all the students will be picked up and go to the same hotel at the first night?
No, not necessarily. There could be various situations. We have 3 contracts with different hotels. They offer discount rate. Student can pick their own hotel. We don't have to say because hotels will ask a credit card as deposit to hold the room. And as a school, we cannot handle credit card for the third party. So they have to make a reservation. We just send them there.
Okay, so when they arrive at the airport, they already know where to go to
Yes,
leave?
yes. That's part of the lease, actually. There's a column in the lease that say your destination.
Okay.
That is only when they say, I'm going to an apartment address. And when we try to verify if they got a contract, if they have a key, they say, no, I don't have that. That's the time we need to drag them to a hotel for emergency booking system and let them stay at hotel for 1 night.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll facing some legal liability issue.
So the student worker at the airport, they pick it up and they already know these students go to place A,
Yes.
and go to place B. So
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we divide them into different groups so that we know who load up first, who load up second.
Okay.
So Hotel check-in. Hotel check-in, typically they will book for double occupancy, 2 people, so they need to find their own roommate. We don't do this part. We find out is sometimes they will mess up. They don't really like each other, or you don't know. You never know. So we let them find their roommate. Sometimes if they cannot, they will take the whole room. And then at a hotel, they need to present their passport, a card as a method of payment. Typically, we just learned hotels right now don't take cash. They take cards because accidentals and other things, they will hold up with your card. So they have some recourse. And then we typically send them to the room, and I warn our student workers, they need to write down the name with the room number. It's not because we're going to sneak back in that night and scare them. Okay, we're not doing that. It is because they first arrive, sometimes we say, you need to get up, and you need to get everything ready, come to lobby at 8 o'clock. Sometimes they don't. They don't. They sleep in, or they don't just use stuff on time. That's cross-culture part. Because not all culture will be so punctual. Even for American culture compared to British culture, you say meet at 8 o'clock, they showed up at 8, British culture. In the US, 5 to 15 minutes before, depends on how important the meeting is, right? And in China, well, our culture, this part is more like Mexican culture. 8 o'clock doesn't mean 8 o'clock. Sometimes it could be 9:30, maybe. So
That's too much. 9:30 is too late.
Well, yeah, we have received princes and princesses before. Yes. They don't have the royal title, but they treat themselves like
Content agent.
So that's the reason we want their room number. We're gonna knock on the door, and we send people, help them for the things they need, because sometimes we have seen some personal conditions happen in the room, so we need to know, we need to help them, and when we need to connect with somebody through hotel, they always ask, do you know the room number? If we don't know the room number, for privacy policy, hotel cannot just connect us to the room. That's a troublesome deal sometimes for us. And then after we send them back to the room, sometimes it could be already 11 p.m. or even 12 p.m. I've done that before. I know, I'm sorry for those students, but we need them to send their luggage back to the room, come back immediately for a brief meeting. This brief meeting will last 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And we have a welcome package, all the information in that package. We'll give each single one a package and go through items in there one by one. And especially, I'm going to do an introduction about local housing market, what they should expect, what they're looking for, and let them through over the night, and let them talk about among each other, because sometimes they need to share, they didn't realize it. Sometimes they don't know the price range. Sometimes they don't know what they're trying to find, so forth. And then I also introduced the timeline. Within the next 48 hours, what's going on, what we're going to do to help them, and what they expect, what should they do, okay? So that we got clear responsibilities with a timeline, step by step. And then that will be the night. Next morning, notice there are different direction of arrows. It is because this is one that deal with other situations as well. But what I'm trying to say right here is just one typical example, not all conditions. We'll talk about it later if we have time. But typically, next morning, we'll have them refreshed, be it at lobby or their destination apartment whatsoever, and then we'll pick them up. They need to carry all their international immigration paperwork, passport, visa, I-20 or DS-2019, admission letter, so forth, everything. Typically, those students will organize. They put everything in an envelope or in a bag, the whole bag, and also their cash that they need to deposit or any financial instruments they're carrying with them. Because next day we're going to help them secure everything so that they don't need to worry about it. First thing first, we'll lead them to the Bear Pass office. Bear pass office, yeah. Everybody got one. We all know what is that for, but our Chinese students may not know. So we introduce a little bit, then divide them into 4 to 6 people per group, let them get into the room, take picture one by one, present their passport and admission letter, and take picture, get a card. That will be their second photo ID. So they can use that to open their bank account. Banks need 2 photo IDs to open an account. Here, most of the people in this room, you don't have any problem because you got, various type of that in the US, but our international students from China only got passport if you don't have a Bear Pass. So Commerce Bank will be able to use Bear Pass as second ID, and they also need to present their passport. Used to be they also need other documentation, but now they're trying to make it simplified. So only passport and Bear Pass. They can apply for opening an account, and then there are a bunch of paperwork. After paperwork, they put their money, deposit their money into the account or financial instrument into the account, and then get a card. At this moment, it's very important because we need to let the student know the safety features of using ATM inside and outside the building, and also let them know how to use an ATM machine in the US. It's not like with China people. We don't use ATM. We got ATMs all over the place. Okay, we don't ride horses anymore. Okay, we take high-speed train. Okay, it is because in China, typically ATM machine they will take card from your hand. Here you stick card in, put it out, put that in your wallet, and numbers whatsoever. In China, most of the ATMs you need to put card in there. The machine will take card, secure it, so that during the process there's no extra hazard or extra risk for it. After you finish the process, it will release card and take the card back. Okay, it's very different. I've seen Chinese students get a card and try to put that in. It just won't go in, and they scared and say, "What is this machine's broken? Did I just broke it?" No, it's just different. And also the safety features, because right now in China, we got so many cameras all over. It's very safe, being considered very safe. Here we need to warn them and say there are 2 small murals on top of that. Look around people, there's no people around you within your arm length, typically the safety bubble. And during the night, don't go to outside ATM by yourself and so forth. We give them a small lecture, let them know a little bit, let them practice using their card. And then computer account is a big thing. We call it computer account. It's not just a computer account. And also, open a computer account for international students is rather hesitant because you need to input a bunch of the information. Okay, remember, when you first sign up, you got 7-step process, and that will take a long time. If you go through that process, we can never set up anybody in 48 hours. No way, because there's a manual verification on the back. There's one person in the computing center doing that. That's only herself. Okay. So that takes a long time. Typically, we have the administrator come over, go into the backstage, create an account for the student, then create their public ID, private ID, temporary password. At that time, student need to take a picture about their login IDs and also temporary password. Then go to another computer, try to log in initially and change to their change their personal password. Okay? They need to understand the complexity requirement for password and try to come up with it and try to remember it. We got students get in there, get it on everything, and just pause and say, "What's going on? Why you pause? You don't move. Next step." I'm trying to think about the password. It's just they forget like that quick. Sometimes it's because under jet lag and brand new information overflow, everything comes together. And then also they need to set up their security questions. If there's anything happen to the account, that's the only way typically people say you can get an account back. And then they also need to set up their email account because we outsource the email to Hotmail server. So there are a bunch of other questions that you can answer before you get access to the email account. After that, all international students are required to take the TB test. That's a disease, lung disease. You know, unfortunately, China and India are two very high-risk areas, so they need to go through online process to make a TB test appointment. Then upon logout, we will need to make sure Chinese students understand this is not a personal computer. If the system setup is, if they log out, everything being wiped off. They have to bring up their own thumb drive to save anything. If they don't save, it's gone. Okay. Again, a little bit different setting. In China, it's not that way. After that part, the internal process will be considered as technically finished. And then that will be external process follow-up. External follow-up. Among those external processes, most important part is find their permanent address.
Before we go to the external, for the internal, I know you mentioned you have a student worker
Yeah.
to pick up them in the airport. And how the student workers get involved when you have those computer account and bear pass card?
Okay. Typically, when we got a group of students, and we try to utilize the same group of student worker that initially picked them up from the airport. We want them to build up this relationship so that they trust each other. So starting from next morning, this group of student worker will go with this group step by step, always step by step with the group. We typically assign 2 student workers with 1 group of new students. That group anywhere 8 to 12 people. We try not to go beyond 15 new students, because go beyond 15 new students, 2 will be kind of very hard to handle. You know, there's so many questions and so many different thinking process going. So during the internal process, it will be those 2 or 3 student workers staying with this group of new students and help them go through. And they will have lots of questions, how to log in, what ID, because our system design quite different. We got public ID and private ID. New international student always mess up with it. There's a female student in the past month almost cried saying, "Oh, I cannot get in, system denied me," and so forth. It's because she was trying to use the public ID to log on. You know, no big deal, but to them it could be a tipping point because they're under such big pressure and everything is new. You don't know anybody, you don't know nothing about it, so it could be a really high pressure situation for them, and any small trigger will mess up things. Okay.
But here I see a kind of a assignment to assign the student workers to a group of students.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you?
I pretty much will do it. It depends on how many are arriving in a certain period of time.
Okay. So if you are using an information system, you say, hey, here's my list of students. Here's my list of a student worker.
Yeah.
I say these 2 students work on this group.
Yes.
And these 2 on there.
Yeah.
So you're gonna assign this. This could be a nice information system tool for
Yes.
you, right? Okay.
Yes. But this assignment only lasts until the long-term logging security process. Only lasts until they find their apartment. After that,
Okay.
every assignment will be readjusted because people make decisions on different speeds. Okay.
Okay.
So it will change, but up until the point they go out there looking for apartments or house, still the same student workers
Okay.
with the same group of new students.
Okay. So after we finish all the internal, external, this kind of student and student worker relationship ends.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't want to jump ahead, but when you're talking about looking for long-term lodging, is this typical that all the students are going to be living off campus, or are there a portion of them that do reside on campus?
Majority of our new students will live outside campus because on-campus dormitory very limited. Our school is running a shortage on that, so it's even encouraged. That's why you see lots of new buildings start popping up around campus in the past several years. Actually, school prefer that way, and they're running a new deal right now with one of the landlords, see if they can lease one from the landlord. You know, because we don't have the school, I don't think got the effort to build new apartments. So, and also our students, a good portion of our students, especially the group I work closely, is called the exact option MBA student from China. They are over the legal age that can drink. And school dormitory got a really restrict regulation. You cannot own alcohol product. And so they don't like that part. And we like to cook Chinese food, the real Chinese food, not cashew chicken, okay? Not cashew chicken or Swiss sour chicken, none of those, okay? School dorms typically won't have kitchen, so that's pretty pitiful. Used to be some Miller Tower got a kitchen for each apartment. For fire hazard or risks, they took them off.